Welcome to Imagine Conversations. Imagine if I could sit down in the same room with Neville Goddard and Napoleon Hill. Well, in this video, that's exactly what we're going to do. We are in a quiet living room, soft lights, no audience, just the three of us. Napoleon, Neville, thank you for being here. I would like to ask you both something simple to begin. What do you each believe is the true starting point of creating a new life? Napoleon, would you like to go first?
The starting point is desire, a burning desire, not a vague wish, not a hopeful preference, but a definite consuming desire for a specific outcome. A man must know exactly what he wants, and he must want it with enough intensity that it becomes the central purpose of his life. Without that, nothing else follows.
Thank you, Napoleon. Neville, how do you see it?
Desire is important, yes, but it is only the beginning. The true starting point is the assumption that what you desire is already yours. If you remain in the feeling of wanting, you continue to experience wanting. The change begins the moment you dare to accept inwardly that it is done. You must be willing to occupy the state of the wish fulfilled, even before the world reflects it.
So, Napoleon, you begin with a clear and burning desire. And Neville, you begin by assuming the desire is already fulfilled. Let's stay with this a little longer. Napoleon, you spoke about a burning desire and knowing exactly what you want. Could you say more about what that actually looks like in a person's life?
It means you decide once and for all what you want. You make it clear and specific. Then you hold that desire before your mind with such frequency and emotion that it becomes the dominant thought of your life. Your mind begins to look for ways. Opportunities appear that would have been invisible before. Most people fail because they never truly decide. They drift. A clear and definite desire ends the drifting.
Neville, what would you like to add to that?
I would say that the desire must be accepted as already accomplished. You may write it down. You may speak it. But if, when you close your eyes, you still feel the lack of it, then you have not yet assumed it. The desire becomes powerful when it is no longer something you are moving toward, but something you are living from. Fall asleep in the feeling that it is already done, and the outer world will begin to rearrange itself to match that inner conviction.
So the clarity of the desire matters, and so does the state from which you hold it. Let's talk about faith. Napoleon, you placed a lot of importance on faith. What does faith mean to you?
Faith is the head chemist of the mind. When desire is mixed with faith, it begins to transform into its physical equivalent. Faith is a state of mind that you can create by repeated instruction to your subconscious. You must believe in the achievement of your desire before you see it. Without faith, desire remains only a wish.
Neville, faith seems central in your teaching as well, although you often speak of it differently. How would you describe it?
Faith is simply loyalty to the unseen reality. It is the acceptance of what is not yet visible to the senses. You do not wait for the world to give you reasons to believe. You believe first, and the world follows. To have faith is to live as though your desire is already fulfilled and to refuse to return to the old state of lack.
So, Napoleon, you see faith as something that can be built through repetition and feeling. And Neville, you see it as remaining loyal to the fulfilled state. Both of you speak about the power of the subconscious mind and about the time just before sleep. Napoleon, can you speak more about the subconscious mind and why it matters so much?
The subconscious mind is like fertile soil. It accepts whatever is planted in it through repeated thought and emotion. If a man feeds it fear and doubt, it will produce more of the same. If he feeds it a clear desire mixed with faith, it begins to work out the means of achievement. The last thoughts before sleep are especially powerful, because that is when the conscious mind grows quiet and the subconscious is most receptive.
Neville, you often talk about the state just before sleep. Why is that moment so important?
Sleep is the door. In the moments before you fall asleep, the conscious mind relaxes its guard, and whatever state you occupy is impressed upon the deeper mind. If you fall asleep in the feeling of lack, you will wake to more lack. If you fall asleep in the feeling that your desire is already fulfilled, that impression becomes the seed. You do not need to force anything. You simply dwell in the end and let sleep carry it inward.
So, both of you see the time before sleep as a moment of real creative power, although you each use it just a little differently. Let's talk about imagination. Napoleon, you included imagination as one of the key principles. How does it fit into the process of achieving what we want?
Imagination is the workshop of the mind. It is where desire is first given form. There are two kinds of imagination. The first is synthetic imagination. This is the kind most people use every day. It rearranges old ideas, concepts, and experiences into new combinations. It works with what already exists. The second is creative imagination. This is finer. It is the faculty through which new ideas, hunches, and inspirations are received. It connects a man to something greater than his own limited reasoning. Both have their place. But the man who wants to create a new life must learn to use his imagination deliberately. He must see himself already in possession of what he desires, and hold that picture until the mind accepts it as real.
Neville, imagination is central in your teaching. How do you see its role?
Imagination is not a daydream, and it is not mere fantasy. It is the very creative power itself. Everything you experience outwardly first exists in imagination. The world you see is only the imagination pushed out. Most people imagine from the outside looking in. They see themselves still waiting, still lacking, still trying to get something. But real imagination works differently. You must imagine from the inside, as though you are already the one living the life you desire. You do not observe the fulfilled desire. You enter it. You feel it. You let it become natural. When imagination is joined with feeling, it impresses itself upon the subconscious, and in time it hardens into fact. That is why I say, live in the end. Occupy the state of the wish fulfilled, and the outer world will begin to reflect it.
So, Napoleon, you see imagination as the place where desires takes form, and Neville, you see it as the creative power that shapes reality itself. Let's talk about persistence. Napoleon, you gave persistence a very important place in your teachings. Why does it matter so much?
Persistence is the sustained effort necessary to induce faith. Willpower alone is not enough. Many men begin with enthusiasm and then quit at the first sign of difficulty. The man who succeeds keeps going long after most others have given up. Persistence is built through a clear desire and a strong motive. When the desire is strong enough, persistence becomes almost natural. Without it, even the best plans die.
Neville, how do you see persistence? Does it play a role in your teachings as well?
Yes, but I would speak of it differently. Persistence is not forcing the outer world. It is remaining faithful to the inner assumption. You do not keep struggling toward the desire. You keep returning to the feeling that it is already yours, even when the senses deny it. The real work is not in repeated outer effort. It is in refusing to abandon the state of the wish fulfilled. That quiet loyalty is true persistence.
Okay, so Napoleon, you emphasize continuing the effort until the result appears. And Neville, you emphasize remaining loyal to the fulfilled state even before the result appears. There's one more thing I would like to ask both of you. Napoleon, your teachings include a lot about organized planning and taking action. How important is action in bringing a desire to life?
Action is essential. Desire, faith, and imagination are not enough on their own. A man must also create a clear plan and put it into action. He must be willing to move, to test, to adjust, and to keep moving. The world does not respond to intention alone. It responds to definite, persistent action directed by a clear purpose.
Neville, how does action fit into all of this for you?
Action has its place, but it must come from the right state. If you act from lack, from anxiety, or from the feeling that you do not yet have what you want, then the action will carry that same feeling. The outer movement will still be rooted in the old state. First, occupy the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Then action, when it comes, will be natural, unforced, and aligned. It will be the fruit of the state, not an attempt to create the state.
So, Napoleon, you see action as a necessary part of the process, and Neville, you see action as something that should follow the inner assumption, not precede it. There's one last topic I would like to explore with both of you. Napoleon, you spoke often about the thoughts a person repeatedly holds and the kind of person they become. How important is a man's self-belief in all of this?
It is fundamental. A man becomes what he thinks about most often. If he constantly thinks of himself as limited, unsuccessful, or unworthy, that is the direction his life will take. He must learn to see himself as capable of achieving what he has set his mind upon. The self-image he carries shapes his decisions, his courage, and his persistence. Change the way a man sees himself, and you begin to change what he is able to achieve.
Neville, you spoke a great deal about self-concept. How do you see it?
Self-concept is everything. You do not attract what you want. You attract what you are conscious of being. If you still feel yourself to be the person who lacks the desire, then that is the state you will continue to live from. The outer world only reflects the identity you accept within. To change your life, you must first change what you are conscious of being. You must be willing to assume a new concept of self and live from it until it feels natural.
So no matter which path we follow, it seems we cannot rise higher than the identity we accept within. Thank you, both of you. Sitting with your ideas together, what stands out to me is this. Napoleon emphasizes clarity, desire, faith, and continued action. Neville emphasizes assumption, feeling, and living from the end. And yet both of you return to the same inner place, the thoughts we hold, the state we occupy, and the identity we accept. Perhaps the real work is not choosing one path over the other, but learning how to hold a clear desire, assume it is already ours, and remain faithful to that inner state. Thank you for sitting with me today. And to you, the listener, whatever you take from this conversation, may it leave you a little clearer, a little more intentional, and a little more willing to live from the version of yourself you most wish to become. And if you'd like to explore more of Napoleon Hill's and Neville Goddard's teachings, you'll want to check out these videos next.